Welcome back, everyone, and today we are diving into one of the most exciting, high visibility, and absolutely make or break segments of the competition. The Miss Universe Philippines 2026 Top 10 Swimsuit Performance at Aqua Boracay. And let's be honest, this was not just a swimsuit round, this was a full on performance taste. Against that stunning Aqua Boracay backdrop, the delegates were asked to deliver far more than beauty. This was about runway control, body awareness, confidence, projection, facial command, and the ability to turn a tropical showcase into a truly elevated pageant moment. Some women simply walked, but others understood the assignment on a much deeper level. They gave us performance quality, competitive energy, and that unshakable sense of a woman who knows exactly how to own the space the moment she steps into it. So, in this ranking, my dear viewers, we are not just judging based on the looks alone. This is about who actually performed the strongest in swimsuit, who had the best runway command, the cleanest transitions, the most confident projections, and the kind of presence that instantly reads, "This girl came to win." With that being said, let's get into my top 10 swimsuit performances at Aqua Boracay. At number 10, we have Justine representing Manila. Opening this ranking is a delegate who brought a very refined and composed energy to the swimsuit round. Justine's performance felt polished and controlled. And what stood out to me was that she never looked uncomfortable or disconnected from the moment. She had a calm kind of confidence, not overly aggressive, not trying too hard, but very aware of her lines and how she was presenting her body on the runway. Her walk was neat, her posture was elegant, and she carried herself with a soft but intentional projection. What kept her at number 10 for me is that while the performance was solid, it didn't quite have the same explosive memorability or commanding force as the delegates ranked above her. Still, this was a respectable, graceful showing and definitely enough to earn a place in this top 10. Ladies and gentlemen, Justine representing Manila. At number 9, we have Jenrose representing Sultan Kudarat. Jenrose gave a performance that felt grounded, confident, and quietly competitive. There was a certain steadiness to her runway presence that worked in her favor. She looked like she understood her pace, understood her angles, and never lost control of her presentation. I especially liked the way she carried her transitions because even when the movement wasn't overly dramatic, there was still a sense of intention behind it. Her facial control stayed consistent and she projected enough confidence to keep the performance clean and pageant ready. What puts her slightly above Manila is that her energy read just a bit stronger in terms of conviction, but compared to the higher ranked delegates, I still wanted a little more spark, a little more attack, and a little more of that undeniable watch me factor. Ladies and gentlemen, Jenrose representing Sultan Kudarat. At number 8, we have Zestah Espinosa representing Iloilo. Zestah delivered a performance that felt more assertive, and I appreciated that from the moment she hit the runway. There was more visible competitive intention in her body language. She carried herself with stronger projection, and there was a more noticeable sense of confidence in the way she approached the walk. What made her stand out was the fact that she didn't rely solely on beauty. She actually tried to create a performance moment. Her transitions had more life, her stage awareness felt sharper, and there was a stronger effort to connect with the audience visually. She still had room to elevate the fluidity in certain moments, but overall, this was a more impactful swimsuit presentation and one that definitely deserved recognition in this ranking. Ladies and gentlemen, Zestah Espinosa representing Iloilo. At number 7, we have Roxie Baeyens representing Baguio. Now, this was a performance with a little more edge to it. Roxie brought a stronger sense of confidence and a more commanding physical presence, and That immediately gave her swimsuit work a more competitive weight. She looked comfortable in her body, which is such a huge factor in this round, and you could feel that she understood how to use her frame effectively on the runway. Her projection was stronger, her posture was more assertive, and there was a more pronounced pageant polish in how she held each moment. What I liked most was that she didn't feel tentative. She felt deliberate. She looked like a woman who knew what she wanted the audience to see. That said, the women above her pushed the performance quality a bit further in terms of complete stage command and impact, but Roxie absolutely delivered a strong, credible swimsuit performance. Ladies and gentlemen, Roxie Baeyens representing Baguio. At number 6, we have Allyson Hetland representing Pampanga. And this is where for me the ranking starts to shift into a noticeably stronger tier. Allyson gave a performance that felt much more complete. There was better runway command, stronger projection, and a more consistent sense of polish from beginning to end. She carried herself with the kind of confidence that didn't need to be overplayed. It was just there. Her body awareness was one of the things I really noticed. She seemed to understand how to place herself, how to elongate her lines, and how to make each transition look cleaner and more intentional. There was also a composure to her that made the performance feel elevated rather than rushed. She looked in control, she looked prepared, and she looked like she belonged in a competitive swimsuit round. This was a solid showing and a well earned placement just outside the top 5. Ladies and gentlemen, Allyson Hetland representing Pampanga. And now, my dear viewers, we enter the upper half of the ranking. The delegates, who didn't just show up in swimsuit, they started to make it feel like a true pageant performance. At number 5, we have Nicole Borromeo representing Cebu province. Nicole delivered a swimsuit performance with a very recognizable level of polish, and what stood out immediately was how composed and balanced she was throughout her entire runway presentation. There was no wasted movement, no awkward transition, and no sense of hesitation. She knew exactly how to present herself. Her walk had a smoothness to it, her posture was beautiful, and her facial control stayed elegant while still giving enough energy to keep the performance alive. What I appreciated most was her consistency. Every angle looked considered, every pose felt intentional, and she carried a quiet authority that read very strongly on stage. She may not have been the most explosive performer of the night, but she was undeniably polished. And that level of technical control made her one of the strongest overall presentations in this round. Ladies and gentlemen, Nicole Borromeo representing Cebu province. At number 4, Bea Milan representing La Union. Bea gave one of the most natural, captivating performances of the entire swimsuit showcase. What I loved about her was that she didn't look like she was trying to manufacture confidence. She was confidence. There was an ease to the way she moved, a natural sensuality in her transitions, and a very strong understanding of how to command attention without overdoing it. This is the kind of swimsuit performance that feels expensive because it's so effortless. Her projection was excellent, her body language was fluid, and she had that rare ability to make the runway feel like an extension of herself. She looked comfortable, elevated, and fully in command of her moment. By this point in the ranking, we are no longer just talking about good walks. We are talking about women who know how to make a swimsuit round feel like a major statement. And Bea absolutely did that. Ladies and gentlemen, Bea Milan representing La Union. Now we move into the top 3. The women who, in my opinion, delivered the most complete, memorable, and truly competitive swimsuit performances at Aqua Boracay. And at number 3, we have Alexandra representing Albay. Alexandra brought a performance that felt incredibly pageant aware in the best possible way. From the moment she stepped out, there was a clear understanding of how to blend confidence, control, and visual impact in one seamless presentation. Her work had more command, her projection reached farther, and there was a stronger sense that she was actively performing rather than simply modeling. What really elevated her for me was her presence. She had that magnetic pull where your eyes naturally stayed on her because she knows how to sustain the moment. Her transitions were fluid, her body control was strong, and she gave just enough facial intensity to keep the performance dynamic without losing elegance. This felt like a top-tier swimsuit presentation from a delegate who clearly understands competition strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, Alexandra representing Albe. At number 2, we have Bella Ismail representing Taguig. Now, Bella gave a swimsuit performance that was incredibly sharp, incredibly polished, and very close to being the best of the entire round. This was a woman who looked fully locked in from start to finish. Her runway command was exceptional. She knew exactly when to soften, when to intensify, and how to maintain visual control over every second of her presentation. Her body awareness was among the strongest in the lineup, and she used it beautifully. Every angle felt flattering, every step looked purposeful, and there was a very confident, almost instinctive understanding of how to create impact in a swimsuit segment. What really impressed me was the level of composure under pressure. She looked unshakable, and that kind of steadiness reads incredibly well in high-stakes pageant environment. Bella didn't just perform well, she looked like a genuine contender. Ladies and gentlemen, Bella Ismail representing Taguig. And finally, my number one swimsuit performer at Aqua Boracay is April Smith, representing Cebu City. April Smith was, for me, the most complete and most compelling swimsuit performer of this top 10. What made her stand above the rest was not just confidence, it was the quality of that confidence. She walked like she understood the exact tone of the moment, glamorous, high stakes, tropical, and very much in the spirit of a modern Miss Universe level competition. There was a command in her entrance, there was fluidity in her movement, and there was a natural sensuality in the way she carried her body that never crossed into trying too hard. It looked effortless, but it was clearly controlled. Her projection was excellent. Her stage presence felt immediate. She knew how to hit the runway and instantly established herself as someone you needed to watch. And more importantly, she sustained that energy all the way through. Her transitions were clean, her facial control was confident and camera aware, and she had that rare ability to make a swimsuit performance feel both polished and exciting at the same time. This is what separates a good swimsuit walk from a winning one. April didn't just look beautiful, she gave a performance with authority. She made the round feel elevated. She looked like a delegate who fully understands how to compete in this segment and maximize every second of exposure. And that is why Cebu City's April Smith takes my number one spot for the Miss Universe Philippines 2026 Top 10 Swimsuit Performance at Aqua Boracay. What a stunning batch it was, my dear viewers. The Aqua Boracay setting gave this round such a beautiful upscale atmosphere, but ultimately it was the women who made it unforgettable. This top 10 brought a strong mix of confidence, polish, body control, and competitive energy. And in a swimsuit round, that balance is everything. Some delegates delivered classic pageant composure, others brought sharper runway attack, and a few truly rose to the level of standout performers. Congratulations to all the 10 women who made this ranking, because in a segment like this, every detail matters and making an impression here is never easy. Now, I want to hear from all of you, my dear viewers. Do you agree with this ranking? Who was your number one swimsuit performer at Aqua Boracay? Who do you think was underrated and who absolutely owned that runway? Drop your full top 10 in the comments below. And if you want more Miss Universe Philippines 2026 rankings, pageant analysis, performance breakdown, and fashion commentary, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Until next time, my dear viewers, always remember to stay fierce and fabulous.